Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return for my third review in the Åland Islands, and as you may have guessed we are going to return to Stallhagen for this one. This was one of the beers very kindly sent to me by one of my subscribers, Ola Brandberg, so a huge thank you to Ola for sending me these beers. So as I said, we're going to return it to Stallhagen, and today we're having a taste of the Ceremonie, which is a 4.7% fruit beer as far as I can tell. Ola actually said this isn't one of his favourite beers that Stallhagen do, but he said it's quite an interesting one and I should try it because he was very interested to see what my review of this would be. I'm not sure if it's aged in champagne casks or something like that, but as far as Rate Beer says, it is a fruit beer. It comes in at 4.7%, and a lot of people are saying that there's some blackberry flavours in this one, so it should be a very interesting one for us to review. Once again, a huge thank you to Ola for sending me this beer. He sent me the Baltic Porter that you saw me review before, he sent me this one, and he also sent me a bottle of the Shipwreck beer, so you'll see that one appearing in the next 2 weeks. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stallhagen before. There will be more added in the near future, and there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and I do apologise in advance for any bad pronunciations in this video, and please do give me a shout out if you are watching from the Åland Islands, somewhere that I definitely want to go and visit while I'm here in Lund in Sweden. I need to get up to Stockholm and then get across to Åland and have a look, because I've heard it is really quite nice. So anyway, to tell you about Stallhagen, so as I've mentioned before, Stallhagen are the only brewery on the Åland Islands, and this is an autonomous Swedish-speaking region of Finland. But Stallhagen were founded back in 2004 by a group of beer enthusiasts, and the brewery now have over 1,600 shareholders. But the brewery is based in Grälsby, which is about 18 kilometres from the capital city of the islands, Mariehamn, and it's actually the only brewery on the island so far, but I'm told there are another 2 microbreweries that are looking to start up soon. But the current CEO of Stallhagen is Jan Wenström, and the brewmaster is Mette Ekholm, and he's been with the brewery since 2008, and he trained at the Scandinavian School of Brewing in Copenhagen. That school, of course, has produced many fine brewers, but he says he likes to stick to using malts, hops and water and yeast in his beer, so almost sticking to the German Reinheitsgebot, if you like. But one of the brewery's recent exploits, as you may have heard, is that they were involved in the recreation of a beer dating from the 1840s. This one washed up on the shore of Åland in 2010, and there was a crate filled with beers and champagne. So the beer was opened up, it was tasted, and it was researched by the VTT Technical Research Centre of Finland, and now Stallhagen produced this beer at their brewery with all proceeds going to charitable causes. And as I said, Ola very kindly sent me a bottle of that beer, and you will see that review appearing in the next 2 weeks. But that's your little bit about Stallhagen. Just to tell you about the other beers these guys do, there's the Stallhagen 3, Delicat, the Honey Beer, which I really want to try, there's the Pale Ale, the US Red Ale and the Baltic Porters. They also have a range of special beers and their seasonal beers as well. So as I say, go and check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can learn about all the beers that Stallhagen produce, and the ones I've tried for you before have been really nice. The Baltic Porter was lovely, the Red Ale was really nice as well, so we'll see how we get on with this one, and of course we will try the Shipwrecked beer in the next couple of videos. So as I mentioned to you at the start, this guy is a 4.7% beer. As far as I can tell, it's a fruit beer. I'm not too sure with the Swedish on the back. I think it means it's aged with champagne bottles, and it should be quite nice. Yeah, I think it says that there is some sort of blackberry leaf on the back of this one. It should be quite nice. As I said, 4.7% fruit beer. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. A little bit different from the other Stallhagen ones you've seen me review before, but the same kind of style of writing and all of this, and there is a nice Stallhagen handmade bottle cap on this one. So as I say, it should be quite nice. 4.7% fruit beer. Once again, thank you to Ola Brandborn for sending me this beer. Yeah, so as you can see, quite a nice smoky opening on this one, so let's get it out and into the glass. And I tell you something, you really can smell that blackberry fruit off this one. That's definitely an interesting aroma. Looks really nice actually. It actually looks very much like a lager beer. But you can see if I hold that up to the camera there, it's a very kind of bright pale golden straw. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see that it is transparent. There was a finger of a solid frothy white head there, that's going to fade away and just be a very thin foamy layer. But there's a lot of carbonation visible in this one, quite a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a lot of little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there, and that is, as I said, just starting to fade away and be a very thin foamy layer. But you can smell, without even paying too much attention to this, you can really smell the nice kind of fruits off this one. It really does smell like blackberries or something like that. Definitely a nice blackberry, or it's not quite raspberry, it's definitely blackcurrant or blackberry that's coming out of this beer. Maybe a little bit of blueberry, but I really want to say blackberries, sort of brambles as we would call them in Scotland. These nice blackberries. My gran and grandpa used to have blackberries in their back garden and they smell exactly like this. It's a really interesting beer that I've never heard or never come across one that has an aroma quite like that. Usually fruity beers do tend to be quite sharp on the nose, but this one's just nice. You can detect when you sugar it up a bit more, you can get a little bit of the malt base. There's almost a little bit of a kind of Belgian-y yeasty character to this one. That kind of slightly banana character coming out of this beer. But it's nice and big and bready underneath. There is a little bit of that banana yeasty character like I was saying. You can also get some kind of apple-y and peary esters out of this one. Has that kind of typical apple pear note in it. It smells really interesting. I've never come across a beer that quite smells like this one. But there is a bit of grassy and almost herbal hop character coming out of this beer. So yeah, it looks really nice, it smells very nice. But I would recommend with this one, before you try it, do give it a good smell, because it's really one of the more unusual aromas that I've come across from a beer in the 700 odd videos that I've done for you. This is a very nice smelling beer, so do take a little bit of time with it. But let's get stuck into this one. So this is the Ceremonie, the Jubilee beer from Stallhagen in the Åland Islands. Skål! Well, the one thing, just on the first taste of this beer, it really isn't that much like a beer. It's very unusual. It's like, this is like almost like a kind of very light German Helles beer with just a little bit of fruit added to it. That's what this one is really like. It's like a very, very bready style German beer, and then you've got just a little bit of these kind of berry fruits building on top of that. It's quite interesting. I was expecting this to be more of a sour beer, if I'm honest. When it was saying that it had champagne on the back of this one, I was expecting some of these Italian style sour beers and stuff. I was expecting this to be really sharp and really quite tart, but it's actually really quite subtle in the flavour and it's quite enjoyable. But yeah, no, I mean, this isn't like any of the other beers that the brewery will do, I'm guessing. I mean, the ones you've seen me review before, the US Red Ale, the Baltic Porter, those are proper kind of classic styles of beer, whereas this one goes for something completely different. This strikes me as a kind of summer beer. This is more like a lager beer, but it's something if you want to add a twist to a lager. It's almost like that. It's a little bit, it almost reminds me a little bit of a Radler or a kind of shandy, if you like, with the nice fruit element in it. It's like if you add sort of Swedish cider or something to it, a nice, slightly more bready lager beer. That's what this beer really reminds me of. But yeah, the one thing I would say about this beer, if you're hardcore into your traditional styles of beer, you're not going to enjoy this one. But personally, I have given beers, there are beers I've had that I just don't like, and people have told me, oh, this is really bad, we just want to see you review it. And that was the feeling I got when Ola sent me this beer. I thought he was saying that he didn't enjoy this one so much, but I have to admit, I quite like this, and it is quite drinkable. So it's a nice summer beer, this one. If you want something very light on a very hot day, then go for this. And I do like the blackberry flavours, and I'm a big fan of blueberries, blackberries, raspberries and things like that, and they've done it quite subtly in here. It is really quite nice and quite enjoyable. I would happily drink this again. I'd love to try it on tap and just see what it's like. But I can see why some of the craft beer purists wouldn't be so keen on this one, but yeah, I like it. That's it. But in terms of the flavour of this one, to actually dissect it a bit more, The middle of your palate is just blanketed with a nice kind of bready coating. It just goes right across the middle of your tongue there. There is maybe just a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness. You can detect a little bit of a caramel or sort of Pils malt in there. You can feel that just down the middle of your tongue. But on top of that, you can feel some of the heavier, more Belgian-y yeast characters in this one. You can get that, but the beer really does taste a bit more like a sort of German Helles or German Keller beer, just with a little hint of that Belgian yeast. It's really quite nice, and it's an interesting style of things. As I said, this one isn't for the people who are like, oh, I love hops or I love malts. This one is just a nice subtle beer, and it's quite drinkable actually. It reminds me a little bit of shandies or of radlers, but it's nowhere near as sharp as some of these shandies and radlers can be. It's almost like, I always talk about this when you have fruit beers, you get this, if the fruit flavours come from the hops, they're always very oily and really quite pungent, but if you actually add fruit physically into the kettle, then it just gives you that nice juicy flavour. And this is what this beer's like. It's if you've taken a kind of Keller beer, a German Keller beer, or one of the more bready Helles beers, and you just put some blackberries in it, that's what this beer really tastes like, as that nice juicy character. But there's not too much hoppiness to this one. There's a very smooth, grassy and slightly herbal character around the front sides of the tongue. There's maybe a little bit more of a floral character just at the back of the palate. But overall, the hoppy flavours in this one are very smooth, and as I said, you've got that nice big bready malt base to this beer. But yeah, really that yeasty character I'm talking about, that more Belgian-y yeast character, comes out as you move into the aftertaste. But it's definitely, it really is a nice black, it's almost just like a blackberry lager, to be honest with you. That's exactly how you would describe this beer. There is a little bit of the sort of appley and peary esters that you can get from some of these beers. Sometimes you get that from the Citra hop, and I think Simcoe can give you some of that as well, if I remember rightly. But this one is really nice. As I said, this beer isn't for the sort of beer purists, if you like. This is more of a nice, subtle summer lager beer with a little bit of fruit in it. And I have to admit, Ola told me he wasn't so keen on this beer, but I like it, and you know, if I wanted something light and sessionable, I would drink it. Admittedly, I don't drink too much beer outside of the reviews that I do for you on here, because I enjoy tasting new beers. I'm not such a session drinker these days, but this one is definitely a nice sessionable beer. So I'd recommend this in terms of the flavour to people who enjoy lager beers, but you do like your fruit beers as well. Not necessarily the sharp fruit beers, but if you enjoy the IPAs and things like that where they add fruit to them, where it's a bit more juicy than bitter, but you also like the more bready styles of German beer, this could be a kind of interesting middle ground between those two elements for you. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I would say this is definitely quite light bodied, maybe pushing the mid bodied a little bit. The fruit, the kind of juicy character of the fruit does give it that little bit more of a body. It's more malt forward, I would say. There's just a little bit of juicy character. The hops, as I mentioned, are very smooth, but it's got a nice malt base in the middle of the palate there, and a lot of juiciness from the blackberries. But overall, it is really quite a nice and quite light sessionable beer. As I said, the best way to describe this beer is a sort of German Keller beer, or a Zwickel, you know, something like that, with a nice bready malt base. There's a little element of Belgian yeast in there, but there's a lot of nice blackberry flavours. But overall, I'd say I've quite enjoyed this beer, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I'd love to try it on tap and just see how the malt base varies a little bit with that. But yeah, overall it's a really nice beer. I'd recommend this to people who like the German kind of Keller beers and stuff like that, and those who like the beers that have fruit added to them. You really probably will quite enjoy this one. It is quite a novelty beer, so do check it out. I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. But yeah, once again, thank you to Ola for sending me this beer. I hope you've enjoyed the review. If I remember correctly, I do disagree with you a little bit on this beer. This one I think is actually quite a nice beer, very different to the other things they do, I guess. But do please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. It's always interesting to hear from you guys that are trying the beers with me on the channel, and this is one of the more unusual ones I've reviewed recently, so please do let me know your own thoughts on this beer. But anyway, once again, thank you for watching. As I say, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer, and go and check out the social media things. But until the next time, go and check out Stallhagen. Some really nice beers from those guys on the Åland Islands. I hear there are another 2 breweries about about to open up there, so hopefully I can review some of their beers for you as well. But thank you once again for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you soon, and we will return to Stallhagen very soon for the Shipwreck beer review, so do tune in for that one. Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you soon. Once again, thank you to Ola Brandborn for sending me this beer. Cheers.